Welcome to the Cashing In on Creativity podcast with artist, author, and creative business consultant, Bruce Outridge. Let's get started making money with your unique talent. On with the show.
Hello, welcome to the Cashing In on Creativity podcast. This is episode number 232. And today we have a special guest with us. We're going to talk with Paul Huffman. And the reason we're going to talk with Paul Huffman is he's going to talk to us about what it's like when you're looking for a mentor or when you're trying to be a mentee. There's a lot of that going on. Mentors and coaches, we're all in that space. And what do you look for? Like if you're trying to find a mentor for yourself, what should you look for? We're going to talk to Paul Huffman about that today. So stay tuned and we'll be right back. Hey folks, I got a book that I think you're going to love. It's called You're Not Done Yet. This is a book that I released in March 2020 and is a book that helps you figure out where you're going in life and figuring out some of the talents you got. Are you wondering what your purpose is for life? Are you wondering how to live your life to the fullest? Are you thinking that education is holding you back? Or maybe you just need to help focus your life with some of the values you've got. Why not merge your talent and your skills and make yourself an awesome life? I talk all about that in You're Not Done Yet. This is a book that is a real easy read. You can find it on Amazon or you can go to you'renotdoneyet.ca. Enjoy the book. And I hope that it helps you to focus your life. All right, so I met Paul by chance. Paul contacted me. Actually, he's starting a podcast. He's in my local area here. He's starting a podcast, and he was looking to get a caricature done, which, of course, that's my art business and my logo design. I managed to talk him out of that, which I thought was, well, it's probably not a really good business decision, but it's the way I work. I don't believe in just taking people's money. I like to. We got chatting, and we seemed to get along pretty well, and he was telling me about his podcast, and we were talking logos and all of that kind of stuff, and thought he had a pretty good story because what he does is he's in the talent and coaching space where he's helping companies put mentor programs together, coaching programs together. And at first, I thought he'd be great for this podcast, which he was. And then I've also got my other podcast for trucking, which I'm going to feature that interview there as well, because that's some great interview information and there's a strong sense of that going on in the industry over there. But I thought it was pretty cool. So let me tell you a little bit about Paul. He's been in business for about 20 years. He started his career selling copiers. You remember copiers? Yeah. And then he worked for Black & Decker in sales, channel management, and retail operations. He turned on to the recruiting side and worked for clients across North America, and specializing in consumer packaged goods, hard goods, and building materials through marketing and operations roles. And recently he's begun coaching and mentoring. He just started this business on his own in the middle of a pandemic, which I got to give him kudos for that. And he's got a nice family. He's in the Southern Ontario area here. And now he helps his clients attract and retain top talent. So we're going to learn all about about him and his podcast, and we'll also find out what it's like to be if you're a mentee or you're looking for someone to mentor, because this is a very there's a lot to that relationship. It's not as easy as just hiring somebody out of the book and going, oh yeah, you know what, you're the top of the list, and sometimes credentials don't even play a part into it. I've found that personality plays a lot into it. So anyway, we're going to talk to the expert about that. We're going to talk to Paul Huffman today about how that works and why it works. So stay tuned and we'll get on the line with Paul Huffman of Talent Hunt. All right, everybody, on the line, I've got Paul Huffman from the Talent Hunt Incorporated. How are we doing today, Paul?
I'm great, Bruce. Thanks for having me. Excited to have a chat.
Yeah, we connected kind of by happenstance. You called looking for something totally different, logo work or something, and then we ended up going, hey, we both got podcasts. Let's do this. And I'm really interested in your topic because what you do is to do with mentoring and coaching. But give us an idea of your background. What have you done? You're just starting this business, if I've got that correct. So what did you do before? How'd you get into this game?
Just starting the business, launched it back in November. Previous to doing this, I worked at a recruitment firm for 8 years in the Toronto area, focusing on, sales, marketing, operations roles. And, one of the things with recruitment, it's a very transactional business. And, it's like I got really good at using technology, to fill needs, often there wasn't a lot of follow-up with clients. It was like, here's your person, send the invoice, and away you go, and on to the next one. And, it worked for me, it worked for the client, but it just felt a little empty to me. So I decided to, really branch out and, kind of take it a step further. So, recruitment, you can find good people. That's great. But really what organizations are looking to do is keep good people. Like, how do you keep those good people? So, a couple of ways to do that are through mentoring programs, through corporate coaching for your millennials and high potentials. So I took some time through COVID and went and took a course on coaching. So I've upgraded my skills and then launched this business. And I've actually formed a partnership with a school so I can offer a certificate program in mentoring. So yeah, I'm pretty excited about launching that. And really our tagline is to attract and retain top talent. So It's not just finding them, but helping companies keep it. And then previous to that, I worked at Stanley Black & Decker for 8 years in a number of different roles, sales and marketing, service. I had a bit of corporate, bit of agency, and now doing the entrepreneurial thing and out on my own.
Okay, so when did you start this? When because you were saying you're in a course through COVID. So when did you actually get started with the business?
Yeah, so I launched the business. It was, I guess, November, first Monday in November. What's that? November 3rd.
Okay.
Really just in its infancy.
You're brand new.
Brand new. Had a great couple of first months to start. So very pleased with how it's going. And, I think I've been able to form some really strong partnerships on the coaching and mentoring side. That's been, allowed me to offer up a lot more experience than my 2 months. So that's been exciting. So I've got some really good partners on that side of the business, and excited to see where it goes.
That's a cool way to start, because the first year, depending on your business, but a lot of times the first year is the struggle, and getting your name out, and not a lot of business right up front. You can blame COVID, you can blame new start, like you got it all set up to, you're going to be successful no matter what you do in the next 6 months, right?
Well, and the nice thing was, and kind of the joke, a bit of the joke when I left my firm was like, hey, Paul's going to work in his basement. Well, you know what? COVID has kind of provided me cover. It's okay to work in your basement. Everybody's working in the basement. So, the timing around that was pretty good. And, you put a little wallpaper up and some lights, and away you go. No one knows I'm in the basement.
It's okay. Everybody's in the basement.
Exactly. So it's actually a perfect time. That's for sure.
Okay, so I was on your site, and you got something called the watering hole. Now, to me, the watering hole may be different to you. You want to explain that just before, in case we have to reference it through the interview?
Yeah. So the watering hole is one of the things. It's a job board at the end of the day. Okay. So that's an area where I'm going to have video job descriptions. I'm going to have job blogs, and it's a place where people to go to find out what opportunities I'm working on. So it really plays off of kind of the talent hunt. If you look at my website, I've got, the jungle and, that type of feel to it, and, grow your pride. So it really kind of feeds off of that lion kind of feed. And wanted to do, typically job descriptions and job boards are pretty boring. There's not a lot of, wow, I want, nobody reads a job description and says, wow, I want to work at that company. It doesn't happen. So I want to, my idea is to really start doing job showcases through video, then also creating a bit of a job blog, which is more of a story as to why you would want to work with this organization. So that's what the watering hole is.
Well, it sounds like it's going to be a great networking group. When you get it going, you and I don't live too far from each other, so I could see Friday nights going to the watering hole networking group, and we can go on from there. So you can bring job potentials if you want. I don't care.
Oh yeah, it'll be a good time. Yeah, that's a good idea. Actually, we could, once we're able to get out again, you could have a watering hole meetup for networking.
There you go.
Jeez, I'm going to write that one down, Bruce.
Yeah, you can use it free of charge. Just make sure you invite me, okay?
Will do. First year's on me.
It sounds like a great plan. I was all excited when I read that, and then I saw a video, and I go, wait a minute, this isn't moving in my direction here. All right, so listen, and before we get into, because I want to get into mentoring and coaching, but before we do, you've just started a podcast or are starting a podcast. I'm not even sure if it's launched yet. You want to tell us a little bit about that? What's going on?
Yeah. So really, I wanted to, really part of my strategy with the business is to, provide some content and some value. And really the podcast is focusing on people's career stories. So, whether they transition from one industry to the other, whether they move countries, they're an expat, talk about their successes, their failures. As a recruiter, I meet tons of people and I hear their career stories. Some of them are super interesting. So I really want to just bring those, to the community, to an audience. And, hopefully people can, draw some insights from it, maybe get a tip or two to help them within their career if they're thinking about transitioning to a new area, a new industry, and really just have some fun too and tell some interesting stories.
That sounds like a great idea. Now you have a co-host with it, I think, and I don't even know if you've got a name for it. I know you're still working on that.
It's a career community podcast.
Okay.
I do have a co-host, so we've got one in the can, as they say.
Okay.
We actually got two in the can. The first one was not good, but we learned a ton.
We forgot to turn on the microphone. I got that. Been there, done that.
That was kind of the joke at the end of the first one. I was like, oops, I forgot to record, guys.
Oh.
Not so much.
I've done that at episode 100. That doesn't go away, by the way.
So it was just, a lot of, so we've got two done. I've got another one scheduled for this week. We really want to build up probably a catalog of 4 or 5 before we launch it, just so we don't get, we want to build some consistency into it, of course, because that's, so important. And, we're planning on, doing it kind of bi-weekly right now, and then building it up to, weekly, and then kind of see where it goes from there. Okay. But yeah, we're at the infancy and learning a lot and having a lot of fun with it too.
Yeah. Cause it wasn't enough to just start a business. To start a podcast and a business at the same time is pretty daunting.
Well, I think the podcast is part of that. It's part of that overall marketing strategy with the business. Yeah. And, one of the reasons I wanted to go out on my own is because it's funny, probably about a year and a half ago, I came up through copier sales right out of school, then in sales, and it's all about direct reach out. It's about picking up the phone and making that cold call. And people aren't doing that anymore. No. Clients aren't responding to that anymore. So I kind of thought to myself, geez, I'm a bit of a dinosaur here. Like if I don't do something, I'm going to be extinct. Yeah. So started to just learn about content marketing and, different ideas around that. So yeah, really kind of podcast is going to be the anchor of my content marketing strategy and my marketing strategy for the organization. Yeah. Still going to do the direct reach out, active on social, but wanted to just upgrade my skills around business development and marketing. And so that's where that came from.
Yeah, and that's a great idea because I believe content is king. I've been producing a ton of it for years, but it also is really important to give value. Some people put out the content and they don't give a value. They just put out direct reach. Here I am. So the ones that give value are the ones that seem to succeed. So good luck with that. I hope it goes well. Let me know when it's launched because I'm interested in listening to that. Okay, so let's talk about mentoring and coaching because this is something that. Well,
I'll be on as a guest.
Yeah, well, I don't care. We can go back to the watering hole question. I can go grab a beer from the fridge if you want. We can call this. We're okay with that. But let's just talk about mentoring and coaching because everybody gets this confused. What is the difference between a mentor and a coach?
Really, mentoring is about, when you think about, I guess the best way to explain it is, coaching is not advising, consulting. It's really, bringing out the drills. So if you're looking for your consulting on how to do things, generally coach is not looking for answers. Coaching is not going to be the answer for you. Whereas mentoring is more of a personal relationship, more of an advice, consultative approach. So coaching is more about, finding that potential within individuals and bringing that out and doing that. Whereas mentoring is a little bit more I guess, prescribing and advice based. That would be the big difference.
Okay. Because I think a lot of people, myself included, we kind of start using those words intertwined with each other, and after a while they mean the same thing. So I don't think a lot of people understand how that works. So now what makes a good mentor or a good coach? Is it the same, or is it different? Is there a different skill set to each one, or can it be the same person just in different roles?
No, I think it can be the same person. And I think what it comes down to is active listening. That is the key to coaching, mentoring, and probably any relationship really, and when I say active listening, it's actually like engaged with that individual. It's not glancing at your phone. It's not worrying, being present in the moment. And through active listening that's how you build trust. With your coachee, with your client, with your mentee. So for me, that's the core of both a mentoring and a coaching relationship, is that ability to listen actively and then formulate questions or advice from that. And that's not an easy skill to master. And it takes a lot of work. And coaches are constantly working on that. And it's something, I find you're in a coaching session and someone's talking to you and you start like, I can figure that. Oh, what about if they do this or you do that? Well, you oftentimes are going to miss the point when you start thinking like that. So you got to really be present in the moment, focused on the individual, and really listen to what they're saying. If you don't understand what they're saying or it's not clear, make sure you summarize it back to them and really get the clarity around it. So for me, that's the number one skill that someone needs to have to be a good coach or a good mentor, is that ability to listen at an active level. Okay.
So now the next part of it that I've always been frustrated with, we talked a little bit about it, is that I've always, when you actually help somebody, you give them the advice, you give them the action plan, whatever it is that you're trying to work out with them. But then they don't do it and they come back asking for more advice. How does that work as far as a mentor? That's always frustrated the crap right out of me, to be honest with you. Mm-hmm. Someone will ask you the advice. You spend all the time giving them basically the layout plan. They don't do it and they come back asking question 2, which we already discussed because they didn't write anything down. Is there a way of, is there a way of solving that issue, or I might just be doing it wrong?
No, it's not that. And I think you probably, in looking at statistics, you're not alone, because it's about 40 to 50% of coaches kind of their clients, they talk like that. There's, the action plans aren't always followed through on. And I find, in my limited experience in working with others, it's about that chemistry session at the beginning and setting the expectation at the beginning and understanding that, and saying to the mentor, the mentee or the coachee, how comfortable are you with me challenging you? So setting that groundwork, and most people at the beginning, they'll be fairly comfortable with it. But I think, coach, it's not about being somebody's best buddy as a coach or a mentor. That's not what it's about challenging that person. So if that person comes back and you've given, all this advice and they haven't done anything with it, you need to call them on it. Yeah. And that could be a whole other coaching session itself. Like, why didn't they get it done? Is there a block there? Did we not what is that underlying block? Why that work didn't get done? So you have to be able to challenge and dig deeper into what's the reason it didn't get done. Maybe it's not really a goal that they want to do. Maybe it's just something they think they want to do. Because actions speak much louder than words. So my suggestion is you always, set that expectation at the beginning during a chemistry session, understand that you're going to challenge them if they're not meeting expectations. And, from there, it's not perfect, no. But it at least gives you a pathway to address the inactivity if there is inactivity. I don't know if that answered your question, but that's how I tackle it. Yeah,
it's different. I think a lot of it depends on the type of person. I'm a doer, and I was just agreeing with what you were just saying there about, action speaks louder than words. That has been my motto for forever. I don't care what people tell me. If you say you're going to do this or we agree to do this, I want to see it in action. I've always done that. If I have a problem with it or they do, I hope they'll come and talk to me and say, I can't do it because, or how can we change it? But a lot of times they don't, and I find that very frustrating. So I'm always, that's how I built my reputation. So I've always found that to be good advice. I'm glad to see that I'm not the only one. I was starting to think I was failing for a while there. I've gotten out of consulting for that reason, for a lot of it anyway.
And it might depend on kind of how that relationship starts too. So if someone seeks out a coach, like from a personal standpoint, to develop their career or personally or a life skill, generally those individuals are more receptive to the action plans. When you get into more of a corporate setting where, it's part of a team activity and, they're not necessarily paying the invoice, that's more challenging when it comes to getting, people to actually execute on those actionable items.
Wow.
So, so identifying how that client is coming to you and what some of the pitfalls may be can help address some of those challenges when it comes to getting people to move and get stuff done.
That was a perfect segue. You didn't know my next question, but that was a perfect segue into my next question, which is, do formal programs work? This is part of what your business does, is helping people with that. Yeah. So you obviously, I'm going to assume you think that formal programs do work, or you wouldn't be in a business trying to set them up. But what are some of the challenges? You just mentioned one that, they're kind of told they should be there, what have you. Is there a way that they're working? Is there a way? Because I've seen a lot of that, especially in the transportation industry. They're trying to set up these mentor programs, and I'm not sure they're working as well. It's one thing if a driver goes to another driver and says, hey, would you help me with this? And that driver's the kind of person that will help them. Usually that can be the start of a program. But if someone's told to, well, go see Bill, and you don't like Bill, or I don't know how that's going to work. So what's your experience with that? Do the formal programs work, or is there a way that maybe we need to set them up properly?
Well, that's one of the, from a coaching standpoint, I'll talk about that firstly. And it's generally organizations are, it all depends on how the organization approaches it. So if you're going to invest in your high potential employees, most definitely a formal program works. Some organizations use coaching as a disciplinary, so they're not performing at a level, hey, you got to go see a coach. That's not going to work. Just because of the connotation around it, it's negative, it's not positive. So it really depends on how the organization is utilizing the tool, how the formal tool of how well it's going to work. If you're using it as a way to develop your high potentials and get the most out of your leaders, then a formal plan can work. If you're using it more of as a disciplinary, or you're kind of part of a probationary period, the challenges emerge from there. Yeah. From a mentoring standpoint, and I think you're right, like the formalization around mentoring can be very difficult because people don't know what it is. And organizations want to roll out a mentor. They're like, hey, this VP of finance, well, why don't you mentor this financial analyst, and away you go. Well, the VP doesn't have any formal training on what a mentor is. The mentee doesn't know what to expect. So one of the things I'm trying to do is I've rolled out a on-demand video certificate program for mentors and mentees. Okay. So you go and included in that is a tracking document as well. So our belief is that if you give people the tools, you give them the background, you give them the skill set to be an effective mentor and a mentee, that a formalization of these programs can work. You're not wrong. Organizations roll out mentoring programs, they work for a few months, and then they fall off. Yeah. And the big belief, from me and the research I've done, it's because there's not enough meat on the bone, for that individual or those two individuals to really get the most out of a mentoring relationship. So really the goal of Talent Hunt is to help organizations prepare their mentors and their mentees to maximize the value out of that relationship.
Now, do you find that personalities, and I'm sure it does play a part in, but how much do you have to go, or not even what you do, but maybe if someone's putting in a mentor program, when you're matching people, a mentee and a mentor, how much of the personality thing comes into play? Or is it just, hey, we're strictly business, don't ask me any personal questions? I know every time I've ever trained somebody or coached somebody or mentor, I don't know, maybe it's just my personality, but I'm free to share anything, I want to help them as much as I can. And so we do get very personal, whether it becomes friends or whatever later on. But does that play? Do you have to try, or does a company have to try and match personalities the same so for it to work? What is your experience there?
I think the biggest thing for it to work is trust. and you kind of touched on it, like, and it is a personal conversation. I mean, everyone says business isn't personal, but geez, you spend 8-10 hours a day there. I don't know how it can't be personal, to be honest with you. So there has to be a personal connection there. And I think, there may be someone within your organization who really is a great mentor, who enjoys it, who likes kind of instilling, their wisdom, into younger generations. So that person, if you identify that person, you may want to have them mentor, a couple of different people. So yeah, there is a matching, and then there's someone who just doesn't want to do it, and that's fine too. And forcing someone in to do it is not an effective use of the program. One of the things, that we hope within the program will instill is that, confidentiality and trust are the kind of the cornerstones of mentoring and coaching. Okay. So once you can build that between the personalities, and that's through oftentimes having a personal conversation, understanding family, understanding where they've come from. So yeah, you need to build that trust in order for any relationship, whether it be a mentor or a coaching relationship. Trust has to be built, and that doesn't happen overnight. And really, it could take a few sessions to build that up. So, but if you can get that, then you're onto something. And that's true with any relationship, really.
Well, I was going to say my wife is we got married out of the last company, so business is personal. We've been married 20 years, so that's the way to go. But I think it's really important because I probably more so for the mentors to be trained on how to coach or mentor or train somebody or mentor somebody, because mentees are going to come and ask questions they don't know. They're just going to come and ask whatever it is they have an interest in trying to know. And it's more about the mentor being prepared to answer those, setting boundaries of when is it okay to call, when is it not okay to call. I find that with mentoring, it becomes this open relationship. Oh yeah. And people are calling at 11 o'clock at night, and they've got this, because that's when they're thinking of it. That's not what I'm thinking of it. I'm thinking of sleep at 11 o'clock at night. So
exactly. So and that's really the hope of the certification program, is to lay some groundwork for people so they can get the most out of those sessions. Okay. Right. And that's where I identified the gap, with organizations, is there's just no formal training around what it's, what it means to be a mentor, and, and what it means to be a responsible mentee as well. Right. So you talk about, making calls after hours or at all times of the day, that's not respecting, someone's time. Yeah. And, through the certification program, you're able to kind of, set everybody up to really make it an effective program. Yep. There's always going to be one-offs, and it's not always going to be perfect. And, we're trying to kind of help organizations mold these mentors and mentees. But it's a challenge. We're dealing with people. And there's some that are going to be good, and there's some that aren't going to be great. But our hope is, like in anything in life, the more preparation you do, generally it's going to be a better result.
Yeah. I want to get into the mentee part, but you've mentioned it a couple times, and I want to make sure, because this is, I think what you were just saying is what's very unique about why I was excited to talk with you is you've got a certificate for this. This isn't just, so is the certificate something that's recognized across the country? Is it just going to be recognized it's from a recognized educator. Okay.
So with 25 years, but it's not in a full accreditation. Okay. But it is you do get a certificate from an accredited educator who's got 25 years in mentoring training. So yeah, it's something you can put on your resume, that you've gone through this program. And it's, we're not looking, it's self-driven, it's on demand. It's about, 6 hours total time to get through it. So it's not a huge commitment, but it lays the groundwork, and it actually, part of the certification program is doing some reflective logs, some writing, and then also doing your first mentor-mentee meeting. Once you kind of get that in, then the certification kicks in. Okay. So yeah, it's we'd love to get it to a place where it's an accredited kind of program, but right out of the get-go, it's a certification program from an accredited college.
Well, I think that's huge, and the reason that it's in the transportation industry specifically, we have a really big problem with skills. So, drivers have to go it's $10,000 to learn to get your license. You've got to spend a number of years in the seat, but then you don't get anything. Like I drove for 25 years, other than some safety awards, there's nothing in my file to say, I learned this, I learned that. I took a lot of courses when I became a supervisor. That's what got me a lot of those. But this is great because we're trying to show people a career path, because we can't get young people in. They're not interested. They're going, I don't want to drive for 45 years or whatever it is. And, but there is anybody in any trucking company will tell you that, a lot of them started in the seat and now they've moved into different areas and they're in operations or safety or recruiting or whatever it might be. So, look at me, I'm media. I drove for 25 years. I'm media now. So it's really important. And so things like this are important for drivers to say, yeah, I do want to move it up, and maybe I'm not ready to go into the office or something, or I want to stay driving, but finishing a mentoring program is really good. Now, is this available to anybody, or do I have to be my wife and I are our company. Can I take it, or do I have to be part of a 6-figure, company going?
No.
Or?
I mean, no, not at all. And just before I answer that question, you brought up kind of recruitment in young people and getting them into trucking. And the interesting thing about, we talk about mentoring and coaching as kind of a retention, but it can also be a very good marketing way to attract talent. So 80% of millennials expect some sort of mentoring or coaching program from their employers. So if you develop these programs with your recruitment team or your talent acquisition team, and you put those out front, so it's not just, hey, come drive with us, you can make X amount of dollars, blah, blah, blah. No, we're going to invest in you, your professional development. We're going to provide mentoring. We're going to provide coaching. That gets people excited. That'll help bring in a better talent pool, a younger talent pool, to some of these businesses. So I just wanted to touch on that, because that's really a part of the core of my business. Is it's great on the back end, but let's scream it from the hilltops that you have this, because people want it, employees expect it, top talent expects to have that type of support. So I just wanted to kind of bring that up, because you talked about the difficulty of getting young people into the business. That's
great, because we've got a lot of good companies in the industry that are doing that. It's just not at the forefront. It's something that, once you get in there, there's all these opportunities available to you, but a lot of people don't understand that or look at that. And I think that's a really good point. So,
It's not in the, it won't be in the job description. It's like job descriptions in general too. They're lists of what the company's looking for from you. Yeah. There's no whys, there's no excitement. So if you can, you put the mentoring and coaching kind of top, that's exciting. People expect it. That's like, wow, that's different. Yeah. Like this company is going to invest in me, in my development. So it's a huge opportunity for organizations once they put these programs together to really, put it out front to get a really strong candidate pool to pick from, which is the best that you could ask for.
That's amazing. Okay. So now I'm on the other side. I'm the person looking, I'm a mentee. I want to be mentored by somebody. How do I go about that? Or what do I look for? Who do I look for? Where do I even start? You don't have to give me that. I'm sure you've got a whole manual on how to do that. I'm not expecting that answer, but maybe just some tips of what do I ask for? If everybody's interchanging the words, I may not even be asking the right thing for what I'm thinking I want. So how do I start that program?
I think the first off, if you're a mentee and you're seeking that out, is, you have to look at your network, and you really want to look at where do you want to go with your career. So it's really a bit of a self-evaluation first to figure out where you want to go. And then, it's not easy to kind of just reach out to someone and say, hey, you want to be my mentor? I think it's like anything that you can use. And I'm just taking this from a perspective of, I'm an individual kind of looking, I'm not in an organization. You really would, there's industry associations you could look in. You could use social media, like especially LinkedIn, to connect with people that you think are strong, build a relationship with them through that. And then, something can kind of come from that. It's not like send an email and say, hey, do you want to be my mentor? Right. Engage with them, start to learn with them. People love to be asked about their careers, how they've developed. So ask those types of questions, and that can almost naturally happen kind of the progression to a mentor-mentee type relationship. Yeah. So it's about really understanding yourself, what you're looking for and where you want to go, and then being active in seeking out that individual, whether it be through industry association, your current organization, your network. I mean, developing your network is huge, and you use LinkedIn to do that, or conferences, in 2019, you could go to conferences and trade shows to do that. But yeah, it's really about identifying what you want to do and then seeking out that individual, because you'll find people want to give back. I generally do believe that. It's just finding that individual. And if someone's on LinkedIn and they're, kind of giving advice on LinkedIn and you're commenting on it and they're giving advice back and you're building a relationship there, I think you're in a good position to maybe take that and try to formalize that relationship.
I'm a big fan of mentoring or being a mentee, I guess, from afar. So there's a lot of people I follow, especially on social media, in my industries, and I've got lots of industries that I follow. I watch what they do. I, kind of gear my career to the way they've geared their, but I won't reach out and probably ask them any questions. I do that from afar. There's people that I meet regularly that I know very well that we might ask a question. The one thing I find, especially in the creative industries or entrepreneurs, is that people are asking questions of their competitors. Do you think that's a good thing or a bad thing? If I'm trying to start a business, should I go to somebody who's actually in that business? Are they going to give me the right answer? I don't know if that's I'm just kind of throwing that out. I want to see what you have to say about that.
Yeah. I mean, I'm always of the notion you can learn from your competitors for sure. And I think, you should engage with your competitors. Whether they're going to get, it's a great question and a great point. Like, you are competitors at the end of the day. So that might be difficult to kind of get a mentor from outside of, and it depends on industry too. Like, it's funny. I was talking to an executive contact of mine who, kind of came from, the Procter and Gamble world, CPG, very competitive, very, very professional, and the mentoring program at P&G has been robust. It's been for a number of years, and it was all kind of internal. Well, she moved and she went into the hardware industry now. So she's, working more, kitchen and bath hardware and stuff within that. And she mentioned to me about mentoring. She goes, within this industry, you could talk to your competitors and get advice. And it's just, I think it's industry to industry, Bruce, as to whether you could do that and kind of the makeup of that industry. Yep. In the hardware space where I do a lot of recruitment, they're generally very helpful with each other, even competitors. And through, like, they've got, the Women's Executive Association and that they got a mentoring program with. So, yeah, I think the kind of the answer to that is it's a case by case and probably industry by industry.
Yeah, I know. Is there a line? Boy, I'm asking you all the hard questions today. I didn't mean to do this. You're in that space, and I just want to know what you think. It's because I get those questions from people who are actually my competitors, not necessarily in podcasting. So podcasting a little bit, but more in the arts. Like the last guy I coached, he was actually starting a caricature business. He says, I want to start a caricature business like you. Well, really, I'm grooming you to be my competition. But he was far enough away. He's at the other end of the spectrum, so I did help him out, and I'll leave that alone because it didn't go as well as I was hoping it would. But a lot of us are friendly competition. That part I get. But when people are asking, I guess my question was, at what point when you're asking people for help, another entrepreneur or whatever, you're trying to follow or get them to be your mentor, at what limits is there to what they will? I don't know if it was just I lost my train of thought.
I think I know where you're going. Like, where's the line?
Yeah, where's the line of how many times you can ask me questions? Okay, so this is where I was going. I lost my train of thought. Thanks for bringing me back there, Paul. People do that on the interview all the time. Trust me. But a lot of us who have been around for a while and are good at helping people sometimes get tired of people always asking, like, okay, how do I start this? And not offering anything. They're not offering to pay. They're not offering you anything. They're just kind of always taking the value from, and I'm okay with that sometimes depending on the setting. But after a while, it's like, hey guys, I'm not the free advice guy. Like, go, so is there any opinion on that? Is that still part of mentoring, or is that something we're getting out of space? Or
no, I don't consider that mentoring, to be honest with you, because it's a one-way conversation. It sounds like to me. Yeah. Whereas mentoring, it can start out informal, but there is some formal, it kind of moves into more of a formal relationship. And yeah, if someone just keeps reaching out and asking the same questions, and it's, to me that's bordering on pestering. Yeah. I'm a true believer in, sharing information and, giving power to everybody around you. Like I work with other recruiters, other coaches. I mean, it's a very collaborative approach. But yeah, I don't like what you described to me. Doesn't sound like a mentoring relationship. It sounds like somebody who just is looking for I think the key thing is we think of a mentoring relationship and we think of the mentee getting all the value out of it. The mentor gets a ton of value out of that. In a really good, strong mentor-mentee relationship, the mentor is getting just as much out of it as the mentee. So if you're not feeling that, then there's probably a problem with the relationship.
Yeah. No, that's a good answer. You're very good because I put you on the spot with that. So that was good. No, because we do talk about that and we do get that a lot. I've got a friend who is in, he's a business coach, I guess, your branding coach. And a lot of times, we go for lunch once a month and we mentor each other. He'll be asking me about podcast or something and I'm asking him about something. And it's very informal. The way we've got it set up is if one person dominates the whole lunch with a topic, they have to pay the other person. We switch lunch, but if I find I'm like the whole lunch was about me, I go, okay, send me an invoice for that one. But usually we're sharing enough interview. It's cool that way. It's fun. You got to make the relationships fun for ssure. So, listen,
you have to there's a value to everybody's information and there's a value to it. So as advice to a mentee who's going out there, value that from the person. It's not entitled to you, and try to give something back to that individual. And if you don't feel you can from a knowledge perspective, maybe it is a lunch. Maybe it is just a thank you. It's an appreciation. It's a post on social when you get that promotion, thanking that individual. So that's a little bit of advice I give to mentees is value that relationship because none of us do it alone. None of us do it alone. You need team and you need partners. That's a
great advice there because I think that's what a lot of people are missing. And I know from being the mentor coach side of it, you're going, I gave you a lot of value, whether you saw it or not, it's there. So, anyway, we'll leave that alone. I've got my own issues. So where do we go to find more about Talent Hunt? And I guess your podcast will be part of your website so we can find it because I know it's not launched yet. So you may not have a website.
It's not launched yet. So I've got, talenthunt.ca is my website. I also have a site, paulhuffman.ca, which has some of my blogs and some content on there as well. And then you can find me on LinkedIn. I mean, as a recruiter, we kind of live on LinkedIn, so I'm easy to find there as well. And, Paul at talenthunt.ca is my email. So yeah, if you want to find me, you can. That's for sure.
And you're based in Hamilton. You're in the Southern Ontario area. So anybody local may want you, once we're allowed to meet with people again, want you to come out and look at their business or their team.
Yeah, and I do a lot of stuff through virtual. Zoom's been an amazing tool. Google Meets, and I've actually rolled out a corporate coaching plan with coaching 15 people on a corporate team, and we've done it all through Zoom.
Oh wow,
pretty cool.
That is cool. I've been using Zoom for years for my podcast interviews, and I sure wish I'd invested before the pandemic. I'm one of those late bloomers that go, man, missed the boat again every time, right? So,
no doubt about that.
Paul, thank you so much for being on the show today. It's been an absolute blast having you on, and I know a lot of people will get some great information out of this. So thanks again.
Bruce, thank you so much. It's great to chat. And, once I'd love, just hearing kind of all the things you did in your career. I think you're a great candidate. Maybe you'll come over to the career community podcast and we can have a chat too, continue this conversation.
For sure. Just let me know. You do it early while you don't have a listening base to lose, but I'm not sure if that'll help you at all either. So I have a way of dispersing people. No, I can. Thank you again, my friend. I appreciate that very much.
Thanks, Bruce. Take care.
Hey folks, are you ready to get started as an artist? Are you looking for a book to help you? Hey, whether you want to start your business out of the gate on a part-time basis or you want to go full-time and jump right in, this book will help you. This is a book called How to Start an Artistic Business in 12 Easy Steps. And you know what? It's free. That's the cool thing about it, that you can get it free at the cashinginoncreativitypodcast.com. All you have to do is go there, sign up and you'll get a PDF download that is set up like a workbook so that you can work one day at a time, 1 week at a time, 1 month at a time, or you can do it all at the same time. Whatever works for you. This book will work for artists, authors, anybody that's a creative that is looking to use their talent to start a business or career. This is the perfect book for you. It tells you all the things you need, and I wrote it many years ago, but it still works today. So where can you get it? Go to cashinginoncreativitypodcast.com. Enjoy. All right, so that was a great interview with Paul, so I'd urge you to check out his podcast once it launches, and I'll put that name of it in the show notes there for you, and you can check out his company, talenthunt.ca, if you want to go and look there, and if you're looking for somebody to help you with talent management, that'd be the way to do it. Make sure you check out The Watering Hole, which I think is a cool name for any page, where he's profiling different companies and that kind of thing. So anyway, you know what? If you're an artist, you may think, well, I don't really need a mentor or mentee, but I don't know about you, but I get a lot of people requesting that from me. I get a lot of people who calling me asking questions, and some people have hired me as coaches. And so, it does come up, and you may not think it's going to come up, but you want to kind of be ready when it does. So we outlined some things to look for in the interview today, and hopefully that was helpful for you. All right. Thanks for listening, everybody. Hope you're being good. Make sure you subscribe to the show. We've got a new focus this year, as you know. Well, we tweaked it a little bit. It's more on personal growth. We got our book club. Make sure you check that out. Every month we read a book. You can read the same book. You can read a book on a new topic, whatever you want to do. And of course, we always have inspirational interviews. So marketing and business, personal growth, our book club, and then inspirational interviews are all part of our podcast. So make sure you check that out. Subscribe to the podcast. Follow us on Instagram, Twitter, or Facebook. And you can find me on LinkedIn. And I hope you have a wonderful day. Stay safe, and we'll talk to you again soon. Bye for now.
Need to know more about your host or the show? Check out your host at bruceoutridge.com and learn more about the show at cashinginoncreativitypodcast.com.